Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, in front of Gary Bettman and prospective buyers, the Sens earn a 5-2 win over the Florida Panthers.
And that helps their chances in the wild card race. You know we're going to pull up the standings in this one.
And more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
For Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 765 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on vacation mode down in Scottsdale, Arizona, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen on this Tuesday, March 28th. Pillsy, Brady's better. I mean, what more can you say about that win?
Well, when 18,000 people are chanting it in unison, I mean, that's a compelling argument for me. Brady's better.
Awesome. Brady Tkachuk opens the scoring in this game. He gets in the mix, stands up for a teammate. Gudas didn't want it. Brady was standing up for Timmy. I don't need to see that after a clean hit, but when it's your 21-year-old and it's a guy on the back end, a veteran who's throwing the body around like that, you got to give him credit for at least having a conversation and saying, we don't play that here. But you know what my favorite physical interaction was in that game? Was it Nick Cousins who went in hard on Thomas Chabot? And we'll get to that discussion a little bit later. We also have to talk about the send down and what that means coming up on Thursday. But Pillsy, after Nick Cousins hit Thomas Chabot, I could argue from behind, but we see that hit often in games. He starts going to the bench, and as he's passing the Senators bench, a couple of guys kind of give him a shoulder, and the doors open at the end, and who but Mark Kastelic just goes thump, and Cousins falls into the bench. So that's step one. But then step two, Austin Watson right over top of him and says, hey, no, you're not even here, peasant. Just move along now. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's the fourth line just inserting their dominance into that one. And it was a physical game. Barkov had a massive hit on Hamonic that popped the glass out early. And then you mentioned it, Gudas and Timmy. Like, this game got chippy. Almost every whistle, there was a scrum after. If it was near the goalie, there was something going on. So these two teams, they were showing that this was a meaningful game.
It certainly was. And Brady Tkachuk before the game saying it's all business all the time from here on out. I also loved how after the game, Matthew Tkachuk said, we were the better team at 5-on-5. Do you agree with that statement from the Florida Panthers star?
Absolutely. It was so clear that the Panthers were so much better 5-on-5. Ross, I mentioned it in yesterday's episode, key to victory, dominate on the power play. The Panthers have one of the worst penalty kills in the league, and the Sens went 3 for 4, good for 75% on the power play. So, yeah, that's a fair statement from Matthew Tkachuk for sure, especially, Ross, that second period was not a good one for your Ottawa Senators. They were lucky to score a power play goal at the end and hang on to it.
Well, after two periods, the shots were 21-17, but in the second period, you're right, they pulled away 16 shots the Senators gave up in that second period, but Mads Sogaard stood tall, and we got to give him some props because after a tough stretch now, he's done back-to-back extremely good outings. Even his last three games have been extremely good. From the road game and then coming back home and playing well at the Canadian Tire Center. I know Jonas and his mom were there, and now he's 2-0. So maybe they're going to have to get a place in Ottawa. Yeah, even the loss in Boston, I thought he played extremely well. A .939 save percentage over the last three games, 2-1 in that stretch. Only 6 goals allowed, good for 2 per game. So great to see Mads Sogaard pick himself up off the mat and play extremely well. And I'm excited to see more of that down the stretch. But the question is now, with 8 games remaining in the season, how would you, at least for the next 3 or 4, while the Sens are still not mathematically eliminated, and we'll get to the standings and everything in the next segment, Cam Talbot seems like he's ready to come back. Dylan Ferguson sent down. How would you incorporate the goalies? They've got the back-to-back on the weekend, Toronto, Columbus. How would you see the next week going?
Okay, so I'm looking at the standings now, Ross, or the schedule, sorry. The term ready to back up just scares me. So I'm not starting Talbot Thursday, that's for sure. Because if they're saying he's ready to back up, it's for a reason that they're saying he's not ready to start. So there's something going on there that's weird. And then you've got Leafs, Blue Jackets back to back. I think, honestly, I'm torn here, Ross. Like, do you start Talbot up against the Leafs, like big game at home, or do you give him, and I hate to say this, but a little bit more of a softball up against Columbus after?
A business game, remember?
Yes, the business game, taking care of business.
I don't know, because Mads Sogaard, that Leafs game was the last one where you didn't really love the performance in regulation. The Senators outshot Toronto, 52 to like 22 or
Yeah.
24? At one point, the Sens only gave up 12 shots and they've given up 4 goals.
Honestly, yeah, it was tough.
So that leans me towards Cam Talbot, who's a Southern Ontario guy, I believe Caledon, Ontario, and he hasn't played against the Leafs this year since coming over in the Battle of Ontario. He did in the preseason and broke a rib and wasn't able to play at the start of the season. So Forsberg got that game right after they played in Buffalo, played the second game of the season in Toronto. And then we know Mads Sogaard played the last one, and Anton Forsberg played the one in late January that Ottawa got the victory in Toronto. So I think I'm going to go Cam Talbot on Saturday here. I think so. And you know what? Maybe that's even a good thing for Mads Sogaard. You're telling him, hey, you're going to play on Thursday. You're not playing in 3 and 4 nights. Why not give him the extra day in between? And you tell him, say, hey, the boys might be a little gassed on the Sunday. We're going to need you. We're going to need you for that one. So kind of keep his confidence up that way. But I'm certainly going with Sogaard on Thursday if it's me making the decision. Although, Pillsy, revenge game. Cam Talbot was a flyer for, I don't know, a week.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, that's for sure. Okay, so yeah, I'm with you on that, actually. Talbot starts Saturday against the Leafs, Sogaard Sunday against the Blue Jackets. And then, Ross, from there, I think, like, I would love to sit here and plan out the starts, but I think you just go off feels after that. Yeah, vibes, feels, whatever statistical categories or emotional categories you want to use. But because then you've got Carolina on the road, Florida on the road, Tampa at home, which we will be at. We'll be at that game. I'm fired up for that. Then Carolina at home, and then the final game of the season against Buffalo on the road. So I think there's no kind of roadmap for goalie starts here. You got to see how things go. And Ross, you need to see how ready is Cam Talbot. Like that's a big thing. 30 guy in his late 30s, couple injuries here, end of the season. These are big games. Is he the guy that's going to be ready to kind of put this all on his shoulders? Or do you still have to have Mads Sogaard as your main guy here?
It's going to be an interesting conversation. Let us know in the comments what you would do with Cam Talbot now ready to return from injury. I think in all likelihood, he's not going to be back next year. Does that weigh in your decision? Do you really want to get Sogaard to, let's say, 20 starts on the season? What's he at right now? He's sitting pretty at 15 starts right now, or 15 games, I should say, not starts. 15 games this season. I think 20 would be a nice round number for him to get into. So is he going to play 5 of the last 8 games? Is that too much to ask? How is everything going to shake out? But you mentioned vibes, Pilsy. Eric Brandstrom getting the goggles is ultimate vibes, even though the NHL is rigged and they took away his goal.
Yeah, we've watched this goal a couple times, Ross, and neither of us can decide how it's not Eric Brandstrom's goal. But yeah, this is what this team does. They do a good job of lifting guys up when they deserve it and when they need it. And Brandy's played really good as of late. He's got the offense going, which is something that he struggled with to get points for whatever reason. He just wasn't getting on the score sheet. And now he is, and he's playing really great as of late. So I thought it was a lot of fun that they gave him the goggles, and your boy Hammer was pretty excited that Brady got the goggles as well.
He was fired up. Such a glue guy in the locker room. And Travis Hamonic, by the way, sitting at half a point per game since January 27th, that game against the Leafs, and certainly playing better in his own zone as well. Not a player without fault, but if you follow us on Twitter at Sens Central, I've certainly been standing up for Travis Hamonic. I just feel like there's these preconceived notions about what he is. Similar, ironically, the same people that are still hating on Travis Hamonic now are the people who wouldn't understand the concept that Eric Brandstrom wasn't playing well at a certain point this season. It feels like you're either a Brandstrom guy or a Hamonic guy, but lucky for us, Pilsy, we're appreciative of what they both bring in different aspects of their game. And I feel like Hamonic's just taking too much heat right now, and there's no need for it. And a lot of people saying, well, why are we discussing Travis Hamonic? Well, because he's playing well. And I think if you're going to rip on a guy when he's playing poorly, which we're not afraid to do either here, you should give him his flowers when he's playing well. And don't narrow it down to say, oh, it's just 2 weeks, otherwise he's bad. It's like, no, appreciate what he's bringing right now. I don't care if he got burned on a bunch of 2-on-1s in November, December, January. Certainly. And do I think he's the perfect partner for Jake Sanderson? No. Jake Sanderson can play with anyone and make them look good, but that doesn't mean that Travis Hamonic should be on the third pair in Belleville like some people make you want to believe.
No, that's fair. And that's the thing. Like, I think people are so stuck on Twitter as like, okay, one time I tweeted I don't like this player, so I'm dying on this hill. Like, things change. Like, guys have good stretches, guys have bad stretches. Your opinion on what this team needs from a player can change. Like, I think that's the thing. It's a sliding scale, and there's no need to be set in one side of an argument just because that's where you've aligned yourself or your Twitter brand. So, yeah, it's the Ottawa Senators. We all love all the Ottawa Senators. Let's just have fun, guys. Come on.
Absolutely. And I'm ready for him to be back as the 6'7" defenseman next year. But don't get in my mention saying that I want Travis Hamonic to be named the captain of this team. Strip Brady of the sea, give it to Travis Hamonic. No, let's not get crazy here. And there's certainly faults in his game, but this guy eats pucks. He puts pucks on net as often as humanly possible from a defenseman. And maybe the forwards are starting to pick up on that because we've seen a couple tip plays. And look at him quarterbacking the power play when Thomas Chabot was out at the end of the game. Hey, how'd that go, Pills? Primary?
Yeah, primary assist. And before that assist, Ross, he had 2 clappers from the point that were good shots.
Apple picking.
We mentioned this on the postcast. It was just so funny watching the replay. And when Timmy scores that goal, Hammer looks at the bench and he's laughing. He's like, guys, I got a power play point. Look at me out here.
You know what else is hilarious too? I bet you if there was a 3-on-1 developing and Hamonic was the trailer and it was Stützle and Brady, he'd be beaver tapping. Give me the puck.
Oh, he'd be beaver tapping so hard. Or like change that scenario and he has the puck. He's looking those guys off. See him. I'm taking the clapper here.
Hey, he's doing the Pajot, the eyes closed on his 4th goal. That's absolutely sick. Right, awesome stuff last night. Senators get 3 power play goals. The cat purrs, and that means the Sens are now 18-1-1 when Derek Brassard scores, and they're 11-1-1 when Derek Brassard finds the back of the net. And we had someone ask on Twitter, what's the record when they both score? Ozzy Blasi, great name. Well, the research team has reached a conclusion, and we'll tell you right after a quick word. We're going to get to the standings. We're going to get to how we wrote off Belleville a little too early. There's a loophole. We'll tell you what that is. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. They are the #1 sportsbook in North America. They are the trusted partner sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and that is where we go to make our wagers. And I would suggest the same for you because their app is awesome. I love the app, Ross. It's simple, safe, secure, easy to use. Like I mentioned, usually around 6:30, 6:45, I like to open up the FanDuel Sportsbook app, see what all the odds are, see if there's any fun parlays I can get myself into, because with FanDuel, you can give yourself a bigger chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlays. And if you're new to FanDuel, this is an awesome time to join. You're going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So check it out, because if that happens, you can get $1,000 back when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Check out the no-sweat first bet for bonus dollars. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. It's the perfect neighborhood pub, and it's in the heart of the Glebe. You can find them at 779 Bank Street, and when you head there, make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. There are still shuttles remaining. The shuttles leave 1 hour before puck drop, so get to the pub early. Have a Guinness, have a beverage. I know Kevin's drinking his chocolate milk. Come one, come all. Have your club wrap. Have anything. I'm a big wings guy, hot and honey, not honey garlic pilsy, hot and honey. I love that at the Glebe Central Pub. I go there all the time when I'm in Ottawa, and when I make sure after the game the good times keep rolling. Make sure you're following them on Instagram as well, at GLEBE Central Pub, and you can see when open mic is, when live music is. There's always something going on at the Glebe Central Pub. GlebeCentralPub.com is where you can find these shuttle tickets, $15, and you can see the schedule for remaining games. Go to 779 Bank Street and let them know at the Glebe Central Pub that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, Pilsy, I'm feeling good after that win. But first, let's pick up on the last conversation. Do you want to get to the loophole of how the Belleville Sens can make the playoffs, or should we save that for later? And should I let the good people know how automatic a Sens win is when Derek Brassard and Alex DeBrincat find the back of the net?
Hit him with the brass cat stat.
4-0, baby. Unbelievable. Derek Brassard gets his 215th career NHL goal. Nice little season for Brassard. Probably a little bit more than he was expecting when he signed that PTO. Yeah. He's got 13 goals, 23 points. Not bad.
Yeah, honestly, like Derek Brassard has done what this team has asked him to do and more. Like going back, we were like, oh, Derek Brassard on a PTO. That's a nice little addition. He'll be an extra forward, a veteran guy, a guy that loves Ottawa. He's been so much more than that as he's got into a handful of games, 61 games here.
He's going to be a guy that loves Ottawa. That's why we're bringing in guys.
Yeah, no, that is, if you love Ottawa, you're coming to Ottawa. Let's just say that. Jacob Chikrin knows that.
I must be one goalie away then with the Senators, hey, when they were in their pits of despair trying to find somebody to stop the puck in goal. They've used 6 different goalies this year. To me, that is just wild.
And how many of them, this was their first taste of the NHL? Like Mando, Ferguson, like it's crazy.
Yeah, all 6 goalies also got wins this year. Hellberg batting 1,000.
My guy.
Your guy. He's actually fallen off a cliff since going to Detroit, but we don't have to get into his 4-7-1 record. Yeesh. But you know what we do want to get into? Yeah, the standings. Come on, the standings. Woo! I know you guys are fired up for it. Right now, the Senators are 5 points out. Pilsy, I know the Senators, by all accounts, own the Detroit Red Wings after that back-to-back that they played, or doubleheader in Ottawa. It was a back-to-back, too, on consecutive nights.
Correct.
Well, now we're putting our red and white pom-poms on tonight, and we are the biggest Red Wing fans ever. Why is that?
Ever? Oh, damn.
Hey, Locked On Red Wings, Brian, Scotty, we're coming for your jobs. We are Red Wings Army.
We're coming for it. Fun fact, I was also a Red Wing fan back in my day. As you guys know, I followed Dominik Hasek through his career. So I started off with the Sabres, then I went to the Red Wings, and then I landed in Ottawa and stayed here. So
thanks for not going back to Detroit where Hasek finally won the cup in 2008.
I know. Credit to me. But we are big Detroit Red Wings fans today because they are up against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We need that regulation win from the Red Wings.
Yes, we do, because the Pittsburgh Penguins now have a game in hand on the Ottawa Senators. The Islanders got the win yesterday. They're out of reach. They're 8 points up.
Yeah. There's only one wild card spot to be had here. And Ross, if you're watching on YouTube, can you scroll over to the right? All the way on the right on
why don't I do
the
this?
standings?
Why don't I do this? Watch this. Can I? Look at that.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
How's that?
Keep going.
Oh, you want the last 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't want to make it too small. Can you see that? Can everyone see that? Yeah, that's good.
There we go. So look at the last 10 for, you can even start at Detroit. Like, no one has been very good except the Islanders here in the last 10. It's almost like, Ross, nobody wants this. Yeah, everyone's like, I kind of want it, but I'm not sure. Like, you're looking at Washington, 3-5-2, Ottawa, 3-6-1, Buffalo, 3-4-3, Florida, 5-4-1, Pittsburgh, 4-5-1. Like, no one has taken a big stronghold command of that final wildcard spot. And that's why I've kept my hopes so high, Ross, because it's still right there. Like, if one team was like, no, we're taking this and we're running away with it, maybe that's different. But that's not the case. And the Florida Panthers, thanks to your Ottawa Senators, are now in a 4-game losing streak. So that's tough for them, a team that held that wild card spot for a couple days.
And it was gone because they didn't want it. I mean, but they still have the most wins of any of these teams battling for the final playoff spot in the last 10 games. So this is still up for grabs. I know people are quick to write teams off when they fall 6-7 points out, but you can change that in 3-4 days now. But Ottawa's in a situation where they've just played such a long stretch of hockey. They're off today and tomorrow, so things can change, although Wednesday is not usually a busy night in the National Hockey League. This week, I know we're cheering for the Red Wings today. Pilsy, we got to do it again on Wednesday. I'm really sorry to do this to everybody. We need the Leafs, buddy. We need the
I
Leafs.
know. Oh man, I hate doing that, but
Yeah. So
it's
wait,
what we got to do.
does that mean that we're now cheering for the Islanders against Washington in that game? Like, are the Islanders so far out of reach now? You just want to keep Washington at bay?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Washington is kind of not a part of it for me, which is hilarious. They're only 1 point back of the Sens, but I don't feel like they're making that push like Ottawa, Buffalo, Florida, Pittsburgh are. So I'm kind of indifferent on that one, to be honest. But yes, the Islanders spot is out of reach. So
And
that's
damn the NHL. Like 10 loser points for the Penguins. The only reason why they're in that spot.
yep, brutal.
Loser points are for losers, Pilsy. That's what I always say.
Loser points and draft picks. Losers.
Draft coverage coming soon on Locked On Senators.
Get stoked.
We also want to get into Belleville a little bit because, again, the playoff structure there is wild. 23 teams make the playoffs. We'll tell you about how that is even possible. And it's been 1 year since the death of Eugene Melnyk. We'll touch on that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators. All right, Pilsy. Locked On Senators for Tuesday, March 28th. I had a couple people ask me online, so I'll give you guys a quick rundown of the Mullet Arena. Pilsy, it's got to be on our list of places to go. It was a cool atmosphere, and Arizona was playing against Edmonton. 98% Oilers fans. I tweeted out on my personal Twitter, at Ross Levitan. I think you think it's bad how many Leaf fans invade Ottawa. This was way worse. I know you just saw the highlights briefly, but could you tell on TV how pro Edmonton that crowd was?
Yeah, especially the blue Edmonton jerseys really stood out in the crowd there. But yeah, Ross, as soon as it was named that Arizona was going to play there, that's been on my bucket list of arenas I got to go to. Like, are you walking through the campus to get there? Like, where is the arena situated?
Yeah, so it's right off the highway, and it's
Okay.
just like a little campus area. But they also, and like years ago, when when I was growing up, came to visit my aunt, and the Arizona Cardinals used to play at Sun Devil Stadium,
Yes.
which is ASU. It's
Yep.
right next door to that. So I was like,
That's
oh,
awesome.
cool area. And Sun Devil Stadium is built into the mountaintop. So it's like each standing is like in the valley of the mountain. It's super cool. But then you go to literally like a community rink. Like it looks like if you're in Ottawa, I know Alex Marchand at Sens DJ tweeted back at me. He said, then this should be an NHL rink too. The Slush Puppy Center in Gatineau, where the Olympique play, is literally bigger than Mullet Arena. It is tiny.
Way bigger.
It's tiny, yeah. And in Halifax, it's so much
Yep.
bigger. It's so much bigger. There's 4,000 seats. There's one level, and then you go upstairs, and there's the gondola. By the way, Mark Spector, who takes a lot of heat online. You know Mark Spector with the Oilers media? He had binoculars. I'm walking by the media area. He had binoculars. I was like,
At
if
the
you can't
Mullet
see,
Arena?
I was like, if you can't see this, like, what are you doing at Rogers Place in Edmonton?
I mean, he's
You're
a
going to need a
print guy.
telescope.
He's a
You need
print
a tele-
guy, isn't he?
He's going to need a telescope to look at the game.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh man, Ross, isn't the Ralph even comparable to Mullet Arena?
No, the Ralph's comparable to Canadian Tire Center.
Yeah, but like, isn't it like 8,000?
12.
12? Yeah. Oh my god.
There's two levels to the Ralph. Like there's an
Yeah.
escalator that takes you up to the upper level seating. Here, there's like a ramp that you get to the one level. It's not even a staircase. It was wild. And you go in, and I'm sure there's different entrances, but I'm literally 2 minutes before I'm at my seat, I'm looking through a window and I'm watching a rec league hockey game at like an adjoining facility.
That's awesome.
Wild. It was wild, but they got to do what they got to do. And the Sens abroad that were in the game played just as you'd expect. Josh Brown and Cody Ceci to play in that game. Couple penalties, couple giveaways, but getting to see McDavid up close, like He's so nasty. He picks up speed so fast. Bingo, bango, bongo. It's in the back of the net on the power play. Took 6 seconds. But former Eels. I know we followed Eels a lot when they had Roby and Lassie. This Matthias Michelli. Don't look down on people who say he should be in the Calder conversation. This kid is a nasty out there playing hockey. But we'll leave that for Locked On Coyotes, Locked On Oilers. I just want to get that in there because it is such a novelty of an NHL arena. So quick little synopsis on that. But CAA arena, comparable in size to Mullet Arena. And could there be playoff hockey there? Pilsy, it seems like we might have written them off too fast. The last place Belleville Senators.
Ross, we're such goofs. I just was under the assumption that they would not be doing a play-in series again. I thought that was strictly a COVID thing because last year in the AHL, unfortunately, not every team played the same amount of games. So you had to find some sort of way to make it fair and allow other teams in. So you did points percentage and you had the 4 or 5 teams in each division battle for a spot with a 3-game play-in series. Apparently that is happening again. So I just about wrote off the Belleville Senators, Ross. I looked at, they lost 3 straight games. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, they're in the bottom of the division. They're 7 points back of the 4th place Rochester Americans, and the Americans have a game in hand. So I was like, well, damn, that was fun for a little bit, believing they had a chance. Well, looks like they do still have a chance because there is a play-in series between the 4th and 5th teams. So all the Belleville Senators need to do is place 5th. The Cleveland Monsters hold that spot right now, just 1 point ahead of Belleville. However, they do have 2 games in hand, but it's very much a possibility that Belleville will get an opportunity in the play-in series here.
I really hope so, but I'm not confident. Like they left games on the table by losing in Cleveland, one of those 2 games. You win that game, all of a sudden you're in the mix. It just feels like what a tumultuous season down there. The good news is the guys who we had high hopes for, a lot of them are producing. Angus Crookshank leads the team in goals. Igor Sokolov leads the team in points. Lassie's finding the back of the net finally, which is good to see. And I mean, they've gone through like 35 goalies. So
Dylan Ferguson making his way back though. So you got a tandem of Ferguson and Mando. Not bad.
Okay, yeah, that can be the spin zone here. I'm all for it. It's just unfortunate the way that their season kind of has been so up and down and changing coaches and all sorts of strange moves. The Belleville Sens have never like made the actual playoffs when there's 16 teams. Never. And I get it that it's a farm team, this, that, da. And I get that, that the Sens would have been first place if there wasn't the COVID pause. They were unbelievable that year with Norris and Batherson and you and me in the control room. I mean, how could you not be an elite team? I told Troy Mann I was getting sized up for my Calder Cup ring, and it never came. That one didn't hit, but it was great. We got a laugh out of it, and that's half the battle. So unfortunate, but you're looking at an area where it's a lot of Leaf fans in Bay of Quinte. You need a winner. You need someone who the community can come around, and they've done it well off the ice with the decision making, bringing back those Belleville Bulls jerseys. How nasty were those on the ice?
Those look so good, especially if you were a Belleville area during the Belleville Bulls days. You're gonna love that, that's for sure. But Ross, I'm still holding out hope here because I want to make it to CAA Arena. It's a great spot. The great people of Belleville deserve to watch their team play in meaningful games here. So full steam ahead for me. And I think as the Senators season kind of comes to a close here, hopefully we can see both these teams in the playoffs. That would be a dream come true.
A dream, I think, is the key word and all that. But you know what?
I'm a dreamer.
Keep playing the music on the Titanic, buddy. That's you and me here, fiddling away. That's you and me, man. Unfortunately, we have some sad news to bring up. I guess it's the year anniversary of Eugene Melnyk's passing. I thought his daughter Olivia did a great job on her Instagram, posting a few personal photos and kind of putting the human aspect to it, because sometimes people forget and they just think of the brash words that he said from time to time in the media. And we forget that this was a family man, and there's 2 daughters without their dad. And so I just think that it is something that we should note here, that Eugene Melnyk has been 1 year. Like it feels like yesterday that we saw the news. I called you right. I was like, oh my God. Like you knew that the health wasn't 100% for the last couple of years. You had the transplant and all that, but you obviously are always shocked when you see that news. And So we're just thinking about the family right now and hope that they can find, closure. And I think that the finality of knowing that their dad holding on to this hockey team I think he bought it for $100 million. If they sell for $900 million, I think that's a pretty good return on investment. So clearly he had his family in mind and wanted to leave a lot for them. So just thinking about the family in this time, obviously the anniversary, the feelings come up to the surface.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, no matter what your opinion is of Eugene Melnyk, like if you go back in the history books, he did save the Ottawa Senators. Like without him, who knows what would have happened, right? So you got to give him a lot of credit there. And he was very stubborn about the way he ran this team, but he always did what he thought was best. So you can't really fault a guy for that. And it's tough for the Melnyk daughters because, of course, this is an exciting time. Bidders trying to buy the team, so much optimism around the Sens. But as you mentioned, this year, the calendar turning here is a reminder that the team is for sale because of unfortunate tragedy of Eugene Melnyk passing away pretty early at the age of 62. So definitely our thoughts are with the Melnyk family, and we got to give a lot of appreciation to what those two young girls have done, keeping this team afloat. I know there's a board of director that handles a lot of it, but that's a lot of responsibility to put on two young women in their early 20s. So I think they've done a commendable job, and we're very appreciative of everything they've done and that Eugene Melnyk has done to keep this team in Ottawa.
Yeah, Anna and Olivia Melnyk running the show, our queens, as a lot of people would say on social media. To end off on a bit more of a high note, Claude Giroux, 6 points away from 1,000, and he's got a revenge game up next against the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't think he's going to get 6 points in that game, Billsy, but it is truly remarkable that you're looking at a man who has the second most goals in a season in his NHL career at age 35. He's got 71 points. Just a truly remarkable hockey player. And I know maybe last night, and this is a daily show, maybe he wasn't at his 100% best at 5-on-5. A couple takeaways. The effort is always there with Claude Giroux. But something I noticed, I don't know if he's been killing penalties this much. He played over 2 minutes on the PK last night.
Yeah, that really surprised me, Ross. Even you saying that, I'm like, I don't remember seeing him out there for that much of the PK, but that's an interesting stat that he's out there.
It's super exciting that we've got at least 2 more years of Claude Giroux with the Ottawa Senators coming up, because he just brings an element that they were missing with having that star player who can play in all these different situations. And looking it up now, Giroux's played 71 minutes shorthanded this season. So a decent amount of time, actually, all things considered. Him and Mark, well, there's actually a huge drop-off after Claude Giroux. Mark Kaslik, the next most for a forward at 27 minutes. But your normal penalty killers is Travis Hamonick's played 21 minutes more on the penalty kill than anybody else. So when you think of what kind of value he brings, you're not going to have 6 defensemen who are all offensive minded. You need those grinders. You knew I was going to bring it back to Hamonick on the PK, but no. In all seriousness, I just wanted to give a little shout out to Claude Giroux because it's so much fun to watch. Brings a level of accountability to this team and a level of presence around the league that he's a bona fide star in the NHL. I would say former superstar maybe, but now right back as a star. I mean, I don't think he's cracking 100 points again in his career, but man, does he do a whole lot of things right and plays the right way too. So I just want to have my final thoughts be about Claude Giroux. Pillsy, do you have any final thoughts to wrap up today's show?
Final thoughts for me is I'll say it again, Sens fans, just enjoy this time period we're in. Just savor it. I know they haven't clinched. They're still a ways away from clinching, but we got 8 games left in the season, Ross. The season has flown by. Savor every one of these games. See us in every one of these postcasts. And like we mentioned, we're going to be at the game April 8th. So definitely hit us up, and we'll be going to the GLEBE Central Pub, Shawarma Palace. We'll be hitting all our favorite spots. So excited to get back to Ottawa.
Of course. And we also, thanks to Tesla Canadian Dad on Twitter, are going to be giving away 2 tickets to Thursday's game against the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm going to use the same tweet that I used last time. So we're going to have the same there. Go find it on Twitter at Sens Central. Scroll down, retweet it, and we're going to give away a ticket tomorrow, 2 tickets tomorrow for that game on Thursday against Philadelphia. Philadelphia. For more Locked On Senators, subscribe on YouTube, listen wherever you get your audio podcasts, and remember to follow us on Twitter as well, at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.